Sorry, try this again. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us and welcome to Business Fundamental Fridays. We love to give these webinars to our tribe of people in Business Fundamental Fridays. Today's topic, we're going to be discussing resources and tools for your success, your business success. And that is vital. And we just want to thank you for joining us today. We know you could be doing anything else, so I appreciate you being here. And today's teaching moment is, again, resources and links for your business success. So what is the definition of entrepreneurship? Well, Harvard Business School professor Howard Stevenson said, entrepreneurship is the pursuit of opportunity without regard to resources currently controlled. Now, most people have to read that a few times because they're going, what did he say? Now, entrepreneurship is a process. I think we all know that. If you're an entrepreneur, you know that you're not going to learn everything overnight. Many successful entrepreneurs started out poor or were handicapped in some way before becoming wealthy through the process. Entrepreneurs see an opportunity and are not constrained from the lack of resources. They use their imagination to move ahead. And I don't know about you, but I know for me, without imagination, and not just my own, but with the imagination of many other people in my tribe, that is how we succeed, and that's how we grow. What is entrepreneurship versus corporate? Well, entrepreneurs work with a team rather than with a hierarchy. And they're in favor of decisive action rather than deliberation. Have you ever sat in corporate meetings and they just go on and it seems like nothing ever gets resolved? I know I have. And it doesn't mean that that's what happens at every corporation, certainly, but that does seem to happen a lot, unfortunately. And the third, they choose equity over cash compensation. Now, just to understand that concept a little bit, partnerships are a great example of that. Sometimes when you work together on something, rather than compensate somebody with cash, you may compensate them with part of your business or part of the percentage of a product that you might be creating. So oftentimes we use the equity over the cash compensation. Entrepreneurs usually see two possible courses of action. They look at the array of choices and pick the best option to make it fit. Or they figure out the best conceivable option they can create and they make that resource available. Two great examples, Mark Zuckerberg. I'm sure many of you know him by now, his 28-year-old entrepreneur who co-founded Facebook. Mark is now a multi-billionaire because of his choice to make a social networking resource available. The other is Andrew Mason. He's the founder and CEO of Groupon. At just 29 years old, he's worth an estimated $600 million by creating a coupon resource and making it available. Now, who would have thought a coupon resource would take off like that? But I think these are two fabulous examples of how you use your imagination and your resources, and you take them out to the market to make them available to everyone. So, what resources do you want to see in the world? I'm sure if you're on this webinar, you have some idea. But can you create them? Can you create others? Is there a chance others will be interested? And how do you find out? Ask the audience that you want to serve the same questions the millionaires ask theirs. What are your biggest challenges and frustrations around your topic or idea? So this way you're identifying the key problem. Now, for instance, most of you know anyhow, if you know me, you know that my specialty is in masterminding. Okay, and I just had a conversation last night with someone who was kind of interested, and I thought maybe he would be a great addition to our tribe. And so I asked him what were his biggest challenges or frustrations around the topic of masterminds, because it was something he really wanted to do for other people. And I just asked him that question to help identify the key problems that he had. And then two, what are these problems costing you? And that's what I asked him. So are these problems urgent enough to prompt someone to buy from you? And then third, what desires do you have for masterminding? Okay, that's my topic. What desires do you have for your product? And what are their top goals? Number four, what would your life look like if you accomplished these goals? So what I asked him was, okay, so what would it look like if you actually became a mastermind leader? How would that help you to accomplish your goals? And then he started telling me on, a deeper level about why he really wanted to create masterminds and how important he thought that they were for every entrepreneur. Number 5, if you could ask any question about a topic, what would it be? And again, I asked him, if you could ask any question about masterminding to me right now, what would you ask? And then I said, and give yourself some time too, if you need to come up with other questions. The reason I do this is because this is a fabulous opportunity to find out what other ideas that I may not have thought of to include in my product. So anytime, that is such a great question to ask. 6, if I created a product about the problem you solve, would you be interested in buying it? So I said to him, if I had a product that would actually allow you to become masterful at creating transformational mastermind groups, would you be interested in purchasing? And that way I could have gauged his interest, like what it says, gauge the interest in your specific idea. So I gauged his interest as to whether or not he would be a great customer. So 7, if I could promise the name of the results, or you name the results, how much would that be worth to you? And this is really going to help you establish your price points if you're just doing this without coming up with your product already. And that's what I'm hoping that you're understanding right now. Although I do have a product right now, these are the exact same questions that I asked people before I had the product. So then I said, so if I could promise that those would be the results, how much would that be worth? And 8, how do you prefer to receive information about your topic? And they're gonna tell you whether they want it in a physical form, a video, an audio, a text, and you're gonna find the product delivery method that works best for them. So again, I said to him, so if you want this course, how would you want to receive the course about masterminding? Do you want it on video, audio? And he said, definitely in text, which you don't come across that very often because pretty much video is key right now, of course, for a lot of people. But for me, believe it or not, it's audio. I am a very audio learner. And for him, it was just in text. So everybody has their method. But again, you may find that you have to deliver all three because you do have people who are kinesthetic, who are audio, who are visual. So you're going to have to, maybe broaden your thought process a little bit on that to create different forms of your product. And if it's a physical form, then that's great. If you have I don't know, say a hairbrush, I'll just take a hairbrush. If your hairbrush is in a physical form, well, maybe you could consider doing a video about this fantastic hairbrush. So anything that you have, you can always use your creative imagination to do some kind of other promotional insight or promotional, what am I trying to say? Marketing, I suppose, behind your product, even a hairbrush. Okay, it doesn't end there, however. That is just the beginning of your research, okay? So next, you have to do your due diligence by researching others who have succeeded at what you want to do. And here's what you research. What were the results of their products and their promises? 2, what emotional triggers do they use to sell their products? Now, we're talking copy right now when we talk about this, and video, because you're going to hear people in their videos use emotional triggers, and you're going to see it in what people write in their copy. So make sure that you're going to websites so that you can actually read someone who's doing what you want to do, read their copy, listen to their videos, listen to the words that they're using so that you know, excuse me, what is going to trigger someone to want to purchase the product. 3, how much do their products cost? 4, how are they delivering their products? Just like we were saying earlier, how are they delivering it? Video, audio, make sure that whatever they're doing, that you do it and you do it best and better if you possibly can. 5, what bonuses have they added to the package? 6, who is promoting them? That's a big one. Bonuses and promotions are often big, especially if you're an infopreneur. So, and all that means is if you've got a product that you're turning into an information product, so you're teaching someone, you're coaching someone, maybe you're a speaker, maybe you're an author. So these products may have to have bonuses that go along with them to add and sweeten the pot. So who is promoting them? It's going to be probably listed on their website, maybe not. You're going to see sponsorship, you're going to see partnership, you might see affiliates. So, definitely find out if you can who is promoting them. And you know what, guys? Honestly, it does not hurt to pick up the phone and call and ask that question. A lot of people are very willing to share that information unless it's a silent partner or sometimes an angel investor and they won't want to know or they won't want to share that, but most of the time they will. So, a few important tools that can also help you succeed in business are, I'm not going to name all of these, I'm just going to go down the left hand side and talk about them a little bit, but you can see what they are. I'll also make sure that these get put in our Facebook forum. So, if you're watching this video as a replay and you have not connected yet with us on the Facebook forum, please go ahead and do that and search us through Business Fundamental Fridays on Facebook. So, on the left hand side, all business info, allbusiness.com, fabulous website. If you haven't been there yet, you've got to have some opportunities to just sit and read. That is going to be a wealth of knowledge for you right there. Stay inspired. Great quotes. Movie.com has a 3-minute video right there that is amazing. So spend 3 minutes and go there and really just get inspired. And that is one thing. The reason that's there, even though it's just a 3-minute video, if you're not inputting positive data into your mind every day, you're just going to get infiltrated with all the negative that the world wants to give to you. So, really make sure that you're staying inspired and share the quotes that you see on there. You see people do that all the time on their social media, and really it's a great idea because it does help to motivate and inspire other people. Multi-purpose tool. This is a really interesting website. I know a lot of people that use the tools that are on here. I don't personally use them, but it doesn't mean that I don't recommend it, only because there are things on there that could really help de-stress people. So just take some time to look at that and see what you might find on there, because what they'll do is they will give you HTML code, copy and paste in on your site that you can put into a widget. And it's great. And they give you full permission to use their stuff on your website. Keywords research tool. This is extremely valuable if you do not have a software program or any kind of an application where you can research your tools, your keywords. You're going to need to do that in order to know what people are looking for in your niche or in your product area. So make sure that you're doing that. Logo designs. This one is, I'm not 100% sold on, a lot of these things because there's so many other websites out there, and you could probably come off the top of your head with 2 or 3 more that might be better than this one. But Logo Designs is a very inexpensive but excellent quality logos and designs. I would definitely check them out. Of course, other places that you can do that would be on Elance or even Fiverr. Fiverr is also another place, but you got to really be careful because there are, people who say that they're going to do something for $5 and it ends up being $85. So just, really be careful on that site. Then there's photos that are free. We have to look for photos all the time. I am going to caution you that when you're putting stuff together, whether it's a PowerPoint, a video, or anything, if you're using other people's pictures, then you are infringing for copyright. So just, make sure that you're checking out actual free royalty photos that you're gaining permission and access to use. And this particular website right here is great. They definitely are free. You don't have, any kind of problems with them and sharing their information. All they ask is that you compliment or put a comment on the person who actually took the picture. There may not be a lot of options in your category or your niche, but that's okay. They keep adding to this website all the time, so just go back there every now and then and check that out. Backing up your work, ibackup.com. Definitely back up your work. I cannot tell you or stress the importance of backing up your computer. In particular, we do an external hard drive that we back up our system with all the time, so that's extremely important. Online stopwatch. Now you might think, well, why is that on there? This is so important for your productivity. If you want to get anything done and you want to be able to do it within a certain amount of time without being disturbed, then definitely put on that productivity hat and set your timer, but do it within that amount of time. And as soon as that timer goes off on that online stopwatch, you're done and move on to something else. I use this thing every single day. It is an amazing little tool, and I don't ever have to worry about being late to something because I set it all the time. Sending large files, use sendit.com. Fabulous for sending large files if you do not have the availability to do that through your email, or maybe your hosting company might offer that. But sending large files through usesendit.com is a great opportunity for you to do just that. Filling out forms, roboform.com. I don't know if any of you guys use it, but if you're used to going to a lot of forms online, maybe credit card forms or other forms, roboform.com will fill them out automatically for you. And I love Roboform. So I wanted to just share those tools with you guys, and I hope that those are valuable to you. So the next BFF webinar is going to be next Friday, August 3rd at 1 p.m. And the topic is going to be creating video for your blog or YouTube channel. Now, I'm putting this out here for Garrett and Scott, and of course, because they're still in Kenya, we have not really communicated back and forth. So I'm not 100% sure on this particular topic. It may change if they're not wanting to do that particular topic. So just stay open to that if that's okay with you. And check us out on our Facebook, like I said, under groups, Business Fundamental Fridays. We would love to have you join us there, and tell a friend. That's one thing we can't stress enough. The more people that we have learning this, the more entrepreneurs that we're going to create here. And that is definitely why we're doing this. We love to be able to share and give back to our communities. And one of the reasons that we continue to show up is because we want you to continue to show up. If we can do this, so can you. We are this exact same in that. And so definitely stay inspired. So right now I'm going to just switch off the screen here real quick so that I can open this up for questions. And if you do have a question, go ahead and let me know just simply by putting your raised hand. You can see right here, we've got the communication tip. There is the raised hand option. There's also the chat box available. So the guidelines then would be to introduce yourself, especially if you call in. We want to know who you are on the phone line. Be specific when you ask your question. And there is no selling on this webinar, and we want you to keep it short. So, feel free to let us know what your web address is if you want to. That's perfectly fine. But we definitely want to keep this going in a timely manner. So we're all open for questions, guys. Let me just open up that little box there so I can see if you're asking. All right. Caroline says, I could not survive without RoboForm. I know, I hear you. And Tom says the same thing. RoboForm is excellent, and it also has a password storage as well. That is correct. Okay, Sandra says, please convince them to do this webinar. Convince Scott and Garrett. Yeah, I truly need that knowledge. Yeah, I totally hear you, Sandra. I totally hear you. I did ask them through Skype, and I know that Garrett was able to get on for a moment. I think it was yesterday. He just said, hey, Kelly, just saying hi. Say hi to everybody, So I will get a chance to talk to them as soon as they get back. But until then, I don't know. But you know what? If they don't want to do it, I could certainly do it again. I don't mind. I have fun putting these together for you guys. So, okay. Hey, I did my logo myself. Oh, Roshana, very good. Very good. Glad to hear that. Yeah, a lot of people do. Really, guys, to be quite honest with you, doing design is really not that difficult. I mean, if you look at people like Joe Vitale, for instance, the last book that he produced, I think it was the last one that he produced, he put a large picture of himself and then just the words on the side and of his book, and that's all it was. A lot of people will just do a Word document and they'll just put text on it and a little bit of color, and that's it. So truthfully, you really don't have to hire somebody to do your designs for you if you don't want to. But I do think it is a great option because it is, sometimes it can be a little challenging to get something professional looking. And you definitely want to put out there some professional looking information and graphics too. Okay, so let's see. Caroline says, I'm in the middle of the kind of research you describe. It's quite a lot of work, but so valuable. The survey I did was very helpful. It identified pain points and things people want regarding newsletters. So I am now designing new service packages to address those specific needs of content creation and list building. Excellent. My next step is to do some in-person phone surveys and ask the kind of questions you described in the presentation. Yes, truly, it is an amazing series when you can remember these questions, like when you're out in public. As I was talking to this gentleman last night, it was really so beneficial, not just for me, but for him too, because I was then able to say, do you hear the kind of questions that I'm asking you? These are the kinds of questions that you want to be asking of other people. And so, if you can get into the mode of wherever it is that you go, you have these questions in your mind, and so that you can just whip them off, that is such a valuable tool to use and a valuable resource. Okay, so Bindi from Bin, I'm sorry, bindisbazaar.com. Okay, and that's bindisbazaar.com. Do you see that there is a market for ethical clothing accessories? Ethical clothing accessories. Okay, Bindi, if you could just share with me a little bit on what that looks like for you. When I hear that title, I think that it might be verbiage across a t-shirt, for instance, that might say something inspiring toward ethics, but I may be totally out to lunch. So if you could just elaborate on that for me, and that would be helpful. Tom, what are some examples of the emotional triggers that you can use in your marketing? Great, great question. Okay, so let's see. Talk about the problems that you know that your market has. Okay, so with this gentleman last night, I could see and hear in his desire to want to be the best mastermind leader he could possibly be. And so I simply asked him questions that helped me to understand. So if I were to take his information and put it into a copy, I would say, do you struggle with not knowing how to communicate with your community? Do you have, uh, or do you suffer from not wanting to get out there in the public eye? Do you have, I mean, these are some examples. So it's basically taking the problem that they're talking about that they have and actually writing that into your copy. I'm trying to think. Let's see. Some other emotional triggers might be okay. Here's the on the flip side of the solution side. If I could offer you to be one of the greatest transformational mastermind leaders that your community has ever seen, is that something you'd be interested in? So, it's really what I do is I try to create create bullet points of the problems, and then create bullet points of the solutions, because bullet points are much easier for people to read down through. And I think they make a lot quicker decisions when they don't have to read a bunch of text. So that's how I set up the emotional triggers. And so you're just asking the questions when it talks about the problem, and then you're just giving the solution to those problems underneath in the second set of bullets. Does that make sense? Can you email the questions to us? Sandra, I will actually put them in a document inside the Facebook forum, so that way that you have them. And of course, you'll always have this replay as well, so that would be good. And I mean, no child labor. Okay, this is Bindi responding to my question. I mean, no child labor made by women in poor countries to support their family, fair trade, etc. Ah, I see. Okay. So then let me go back up to your question. You were just asking, where's your question? Do you see that there is a market for? You know, here's the only way for you to know that is for you to actually talk to the people that you want to market to. Because honestly, I could sit here and say a yes or no, but that would be like me listening to the doctors when I had a brain injury and they told me that I was never, there was nothing they could do for me. So I really hesitate to ever, answer a question like that, because it really does come down to the market that you want to market to by asking those types of questions that we're talking about. So, yeah, I'm sorry I can't really answer that for you, but I hope that that is an answer for you, just to be able to talk to your market. Okay, so Sue, not sure. Two from Kevin. Yeah, Sue, that's quite all right. Kevin, Sue is just asking from Kevin about how he's posting new products to Pinterest. What is he posting? Is it just images? Is it product descriptions? And where do you post them? Yeah, no, because I'll tell you what, Sue, I think it's great because this way we can all learn. Like I said, I'm new on Pinterest, so this would be very beneficial for me to hear too. So we'll just wait for his answer on that one. Um, okay, so Tom, that makes sense to me. Okay, great. Glad. So glad. All right. A couple of other resources. Caroline says, I use every day are Google Calendar, Time Trade, Skype, and Dropbox. Yes, 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 and yes. I think there are a lot of positive benefits to using every one of those things. People can always come up with negative benefits no matter what we use, but I agree with you, Caroline. I do think that every single one of those are excellent to use as well. Um, when I am doing a recorded call, I do not like to use Skype only because in my particular area, we tend to lose connectivity quite a bit. So if I'm going to do any kind of video conferencing, then I want to use something like Oovo. If you've never heard of Oovo, it is OOVOO.com. I had to stop and think for a second. I wanted to make sure I was giving that correctly. Oovo.com. And that way, it's a sure thing for me. I tend to not ever lose the connectivity with Oovo and get a beautiful recording out of it, but it is a paid product. So I'm not sure. I think that they do like the first month free, just in case anybody's wondering. And Caroline mentioned Dropbox. Dropbox is fantastic, but they do have a limit on how much you can actually put in there. But yes, I said yousendit.com was a great resource, and so is Dropbox. Dropbox is free up to a point. I'm not sure YouSendIt probably has a limit also, but I've never used it to that limit, so I really don't know if they do or not. Yeah. Okay, so Kevin, if you're still on, I don't know if we can get that question about Pinterest answered or not. Google Drive is also similar to Dropbox, Caroline says. Yeah, that's an interesting one. I have not actually gone into Google Drive to use it, but I have heard that it's a pretty decent one. So here's a question I have for you guys. Does anybody use Google Plus? And if so, do you use the Hangouts? Because my question is regarding the Hangout. Whenever I try to get the application downloaded onto my system, which I have a Mac, it just refuses to do it. And I'm going, okay, there's a problem. I don't know what it is that I need, but there's something else obviously that needs to happen there. So I have Dropbox. The amount spaces is based on the number of signed up friends. Okay, so Sandra is saying that Dropbox is based on the number of signed up friends. So I'm assuming that if you have like a large group of your friends that are signed up to use Dropbox, then they're going to give you more space to use. Is that what you're saying, Sandra? I just want to make sure that I'm understanding that correctly. Okay, and I want to go back up to see if we have any hands raised. All right, so no one is on the phone today. Okay. So do we have any other questions? Okay, so Sandra is saying yes, that's the case. That's really interesting, Sandra. I did not know that either. I think that's great to know. Great tip. Thank you very much. And it looks like we have not heard from Kevin yet. So, we may just have to figure out Pinterest on our own. And that's okay too. I don't mind. So, well, guys, I don't know if you have any other questions or not, but it doesn't look like we do so far. We can give it another minute here. Here's something else we'll do. So what are some of the resources or tools that you've used to overcome your hurdles in business? Now, Caroline has already let us know some of hers, but maybe you've run into something that has not allowed you to, do what you wanted to do. And so then you had to turn to something else. So how did you overcome that hurdle? And do you have a tip that's helped you be more productive? And what are some other ways that you've been able to stay motivated and drive yourself or others to success? And then what is an action item that you've been inspired to take today? So, all right, now we've got some action on the Q&A side here. All right. So what tool can I plug into my website to know my incoming URLs? To know my incoming URLs? Are you thinking as in bookmarking them? Because I know that's pretty much what I do. I don't know if anyone else has any suggestions for you on that, Bindi. Does anyone else have any on regarding knowing the incoming URLs? And Caroline said, I just Google Hangouts with Mac and it seems others have problems too. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I found that too, Caroline. I'm wondering if maybe they just need to do an update or something for the Mac. I don't know. And is there anyone who knows how to use Google Products Upload? Anyone know how to use Google Products Upload? Sandra wants to know. And to know my traffic sources. You know what, Bindi? There is a source code that might help you on that. Whatever, I'm not sure what browser you use, but like in Firefox, for instance, whatever website you go on, you could look at the source code, which is up in, I think it's in the file. Or are you looking for like Google Analytics maybe? Is that what you're asking about the analytics for your website so that you know where your traffic is coming from? That's probably what you're asking. And that is what I do is Google Analytics, and you can just Google that and it'll take you right to it where you sign up for it. It is a little complicated in the very beginning, but once you get it, then it's easy to do. Um, yeah, Caroline, yeah, I was asking that same thing. Does she mean incoming links? And to know what is driving my traffic to my website. Right, exactly. Okay. Yeah, Google Analytics, Caroline was saying too. And then there's also plugins that you can get. If you're using a website that is from WordPress, you can actually use a WordPress plugin that will give you your traffic stats also. And it's called Jetpack, Jetpack, and it is fantastic. It may not give you exactly what you want, but between Google Analytics and the Jetpack, it will definitely do a lot for you. Okay, and traffic sources, Tom says, can be analyzed via Google Admin. Yep, exactly. All right, so yes, thanks guys. That answered Bindy's questions, and we appreciate that. So let's see. All right, well, we've come to a standstill again with the questions, so I'm going to give it just a moment here. Just again, let's just share some ideas for a few minutes on how you guys feel about the resources that you use right now. And I don't mean just things like Google Analytics and, talking about those types of things, but what about the resources of people? Think about some of the people that you use as resources. What are some books that you might have read that have really changed your life or your business and the way you do things? Do you have any offers of suggestions about those types of resources? Caroline says, what helps me be productive is to have a task list each day. Yeah, absolutely. I call that my 5 drives. I always put up my 5 drives about what I'm going to do that day. And it's interesting because one of my first coaches was Alex Mendosian, and I was listening to him today talk about, actually, it was yesterday, I think, he did this, and I was listening to the replay, but he talked about how knowing what you're not going to do, he said, you don't necessarily want a to-do list. You want a not to-do list. He said, but to make a list of your he didn't call them drives. I called my drives, but he called them something else. But he said, make a list of 5 things or 3 things if you can't do 5 things of the most important things that you have to do for that day. That's exactly what I'm constantly preaching, is to make sure that you know exactly what you're going to be doing that day. Doesn't mean that you have to be rigid. No. You can certainly allow, life to happen because it's going to. And I do believe in planning out our day, but I also believe that, you have to be flexible, especially if you're any kind of a spiritual individual, that you've got to be open as you're working in any of your products, any of your promotions. You've got to be able to keep your head and your heart connected. Otherwise, if we just get so drilled into what we're doing, life is going to pass us right by. Our family's going to be doing things without us. Our friends are going to be doing things without us. So make sure that when you put your 3 or 5 drives together, that you are really making an effort to stay open and flexible at the same time. Okay, so people for me, my 2 coaches and my mastermind group, absolutely. I never do business without a coach or without a mastermind group. I think that's priceless info, Caroline. Thank you. Tom Peters says, Excellence series are amazing to me. I have all his books. Tom Peters' Excellence series are amazing to me. I have all his books and use them as reference material for just about anything. I love the whole excellence drive. Yeah, absolutely, Tom. I agree with you 100%. So definitely write that name down, guys. Tom Peters' Excellence series. 2 books that Sandra says that she's reading are very helpful. Oh, you know what, Sandra? I didn't get the names of those 2 books. If you could drop those in, that would be great. I think Tom Peters changed my life for the positive, Tom said. Very pleased about the decision I made. Excellent. Isn't that wonderful when you can do something, you make a decision to do something, and whether or not it was costly, as long as it changed something in your life, it really does make it worth it. And I don't care what it is, if it's a book or a seminar or, just going and giving someone a handshake. If it changed your life, it was well worth it. Okay, for social media, Margaret offers to talk with, let's see, Don Crowther's website is really helpful. Crowther's is Crowther, Don Crowther, and his website is very helpful. He has training programs for Pinterest. Yay! That is really good. Thank you. I'm going to be looking that one up. Okay. And Sandra says 32 ways to be a champion in business. Magic Johnson and Entrepreneur Ultimate Small Business Marketing Guide. No kidding. Now, see, I don't keep up with the sports people, but that is definitely an interesting one. 32 Ways to be a Champion in Business by Magic Johnson. Love it. Okay. Here is a strange one, Tom says, but a great book. Patton's Principles of Management. It was a great read and fundamentally strong. Excellent. Patton's, Patton, Patton's Principles of Management. Excellent. All right. Well, thanks, guys. That was a lot. Excellent resources. And General George S. Patton. General George S. Patton. Okay. Excellent. That's who he was referring to. Fantastic. Does anyone has anyone been to a great seminar recently? And if so, whose was it and what did you learn? Like, what was your biggest aha moment out of the seminar? Everybody's thinking. Either that or no one's attended seminars recently. And that's okay too. As long as we're reading and growing, that's perfectly fine. Well, maybe not. All right. Well, okay, I'm just going to ask then, does anyone else have any last minute questions that they would like to ask? It looks like we're coming to the close here of today's webinar and wanted to just make sure that we've covered everything that people had questions on. Tom said he has not attended a live one, but been trying to catch up on Tom Peters seminars, which is online at YouTube. And again, he's fabulous. Yeah, I'm going to have to spend some time on YouTube. There's so many people out there now that give great seminars, and if they have their seminars live on YouTube, oh, you can learn so much. Tony Robbins has a lot of his online. I think a lot of people will take their cameras into these seminars and actually put the video up on YouTube sometimes when they're not supposed to. But I know that Tony does a great job. So yeah, anybody that you can recommend to anybody, that would be awesome. Check out Peter Diamandis. I'm not sure if I said that right. His seminars on YouTube. Margaret said, okay, I'm going to spell that last name, Margaret. His name is Peter, and it's Diam as in mom, A-N as in not, D-I-S. Diamandis. So Peter Diamandis. Okay. I find your things are very invigorating also, Kelly. Aw, thanks, Tom. That's very kind of you. Appreciate that. Caroline says, for me to be productive, it's also important I take breaks. Absolutely. Last weekend, I completely unplugged and went to a fold music festival. A fold music festival? I've never heard of that. Oh, maybe you mean folk. You probably meant to type folk. Sorry. I felt refreshed and rejuvenated by the end, even though I got a sunburn. Yeah. Oh, I totally hear you, Caroline. It is so important to take. Yeah, she says folk. It's so important to take breaks. We all know that. I think we all know it, but we don't always do it, and that's the important factor right there. What we do every day is, I think we've told you, or I've told you before, but um, my husband also works out of our office, and so we tend to just jump out in the pool. We go on lunchtime or we take a 2 o'clock break and we'll go out and just hang out at the pool for an hour, and we love it. So it's just an excellent time to just unwind. It is especially important for me since I have a tendency to be a workaholic. Okay, here's a question I have for you guys. As an entrepreneur, do you feel that your definition of a workaholic has changed? Because I know that when I first began my career in 2005, I discovered that although I used to criticize other people for being a workaholic, I could not wait to get up in the morning and start my work because I loved what I did so much. And I could have cared less if I worked all night long because it was so much fun for me. And then it hit me. It was like, if you're in a job that you can't stand and you're only doing that job because you're afraid that something's going to fall apart or somebody's going to get angry and you're just going to be miserable all the time, but yet you find yourself working all the time, I don't know if there's actually a difference between this mentality of the workaholism and being an entrepreneur who just loves what they do, and so it becomes their life. I don't know. I'd love to hear your perspective on it though, because I really feel like there is a difference, but maybe I'm just justifying it. I don't know. So what do you think? What is a workaholic for someone else? A highly motivated individual is a person that works for themselves even if they are employed by another. Hmm. Well, that's an interesting perspective. Yeah, it's true. I mean, I think I think when you have to force yourself to stop working, and because if you didn't, then you'd be working nonstop all the time. But yet you have family pressures, and you've got people who are trying to get your attention, and you haven't stopped. Then yeah, I mean, I can definitely see how that could be a workaholism. And but here's the thing, if you're working your entrepreneurial life in a manner that other people are not neglected, then I really doubt that people are going to consider you a workaholic. I honestly believe that they're going to consider you someone who thrives and loves what they do. I don't know, like I said, I just might be justifying. Okay, so Tom says exactly. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it's a great thing when you love your work, and I feel so fortunate in that. And I hope that everybody listening on this call and listening to this webinar also feels the same way, that what you're doing is what your heart is calling you to do because you feel so joyful about it that you don't need to stop. You just continue doing it whenever you've got the energy and the life's breath in you to do it. So well, guys, it looks like things are wrapping up. So I am actually going to say goodbye for today. And I want to just thank you again for being here. I totally enjoy listening to you guys communicate and brainstorm together. This really is just a wonderful mastermind group. So, what I'm going to suggest is that you guys hook up with us again next Friday, August 3rd at 1 p.m. Eastern, and we'll be hopefully talking about creating video for your blog or your YouTube channel. We're going to set out an intention for that. And I have a feeling that the guys will be more than happy to do it, but like I said, I don't want to speak for them. So check us out on our Facebook forum at Business Fundamental Fridays, and tell a friend about the Business Fundamental Fridays website. That way, everybody can get on board and learn this stuff that people tend to pay gazillions of dollars for when it's not always necessary. So definitely let us know if we can help you through the Facebook forum. And thanks so much for attending, guys. Hope you learned a lot today in all these questions, and I will be putting that out there. So thanks so much.